What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend, and as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. I feel like it has been years since I last spoke with you guys. It's only been a week and a half, but it feels like it has been forever. I feel like there's been so much that's been going on, and it's crazy because like on my last episode, I was saying I don't think much is going to happen in the week leading up to Christmas in the pop culture world, and my God, was I wrong. I mean, Ethan Slater's ex-wife released that essay about their divorce, which is nuts. Lizzo gave her first interview with Keke Palmer addressing all of the allegations and kind of, bringing that to light, which she hasn't done in the whole year and a half, almost 2 years that it's been going on. Like, so much went down and I was not expecting it. I was like, what the fuck is in the air? What is going on? But we're not gonna go back and, rehash all the things that went on because we have bigger fish to fry this week. This episode is so exciting because we are looking at 2024 as a whole and at a glance, if you will, of all the things that went down in pop culture, all the things that we loved, all the things that we didn't love. And I am so excited to just kind of revisit this insane year for pop culture because there were so many things that even I forgot about. I went through every single outline that I did this year of every episode. So I went through every single week and pulled from those. And like there were certain things I was like, oh my God, I forgot this even happened. Like there's been so much that's gone on, and narrowing it down to my list, it was nearly impossible, but I'm really happy with the list that I came up with. So I'm very excited to dive into that. But before we dive into that, I have a few things that we need to go over. First things first, any of my visual watchers, we are in a new setting. I'm not in a new location. Usually I record about 3 feet to my left at my kitchen table, but I decided to get a little cozy for this episode and sit on the couch. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think when I edit it back, I'll have a better idea of how I'm feeling about this setup. But as you guys, as the viewers, let me know what you're thinking. Audio listeners, I apologize. This has like nothing to do with you, but if you're curious, you can go over to YouTube, go to Spotify. I always have my videos uploaded there. So let me know what you're thinking. Again, I'm in between. So give me feedback. You guys are the ones watching this every week. So if you like it, great. Let me know. If you hate it, let me know. I won't be offended. I promise, because even I'm like, how do we feel about this? And that being said, we have some pop culture moments that happened in the last week that I can't not cover. It would be just like doing a disservice to myself and this podcast if I didn't talk about the fact that Beyoncé gave one of her best performances of her career on Christmas Day, and the fact that LANA is finally here. I feel like I've been waiting for this moment for so fucking long. So we are going to talk about those two things before we get into the year in a review. So sit tight, buckle up. We have a lot to get into, and we are going to start with no other than Beyoncé Giselle Knowles motherfucking Carter. That halftime show on Christmas Day was otherworldly. She is out of this world. I cannot even take it. I don't understand how anybody can sit down and watch that performance and not think Beyoncé is the greatest performer of all time. There is nobody on this planet holding a bar, holding a flame to the level that Beyoncé is performing at. And if you think otherwise, I think you are just a hater. Like, I think you were just looking to be not like other girls and be like, no, she's overrated. No, you're wrong. There is no world in which Beyoncé can be overrated, because the level in which she performs at, and her like creativity and her musicality and just everything that she does is so well thought out and so well executed that there is just she is the bar. There is no bar for her to live up to, because she is setting the standard so incredibly high. Oh my God, I'm like, we're 3 minutes in and I'm already like getting hot thinking about this. But that being said, let's dive into this performance because there is so much to get into. And I think the first thing to really tackle about this performance is the way that Beyoncé continued to just pay homage to herself throughout all of her performances. We see her do this a lot. Like, even if you look at her Coachella performance, if you look at her, having Kelly and Michelle come out for the Super Bowl, like, she's so good about paying homage to her past eras and past self. But the way that she's doing it is almost as if she's giving like a tribute to herself. And that is like the ultimate icon and legend status, to be able to pay homage to your past performances and your past music or past eras, past albums, and like it to not go overlooked it's not an easy thing to do, and it's not something that every artist could do. There's few artists who can really like do something as simple as having performers stand on risers and everyone being like, oh my god, she's paying homage to her Coachella performance. That was one of like the craziest performances of her career. Like, she continues to raise the bar not only for other artists but for herself, and it is so impressive and incredible to watch this happen in real time. So like I said, paying homage to herself, going from Blackbird to Yaya with Freedom as the transition was so insane, let alone Freedom being Kamala's entire campaign song this year. So it's just very timely for, the culture. That on it. That was beautiful. I As soon as she walked up and those four ladies were standing there, I was like, "Oh my god, we are in for it." Like, she knew what the fuck she was doing and she just kept delivering. But anyway, back to the transition. Going from Blackbird into Freedom and then into Yaya was just such like a out of left field transition, but it worked so well. And that's something that I really love about when Beyonce does a live performance, whether it's on a tour, whether it's Coachella or doing a halftime show. She's so good about really thinking about her entire catalog and thinking about how she can tie in past eras and other albums into the now. If you look back at like the Renaissance World Tour when she performed Alien Superstar and she did Sweet Dreams, if you look back at Coachella when she was performing Hold Up and she tied in Countdown, like, she's so good about taking all of her projects and really intertwining them with each other and almost reminding us like, hey, I am Beyonce and I can do anything. I can do it all. I can do rock, I can do country, I can do pop, I can do dance, I can do R&B, I can do like, there's no genre that she's touched that she hasn't perfected. And it's just so cool to see the way that she really ties it in to just the grand scheme of who she is. And it's so incredible to watch in real time. And I think whether you're a fan or not, being able to just like appreciate her artistry and at a base level is like the bare minimum, because knowing what she is doing on those stages and being able to just like comprehend it, like, ugh, it is unbelievable. So let's keep going through this performance because there is so much. Like I said, I mean, paying homage to Coachella with the drum line and the risers and having everybody up there, like, that is such like a callback to that iconic performance. The performance itself, so the games had 24 million viewers on average, but they both of the games that were streamed on Netflix that day saw the highest peak in streams during Beyonce's halftime show, which is so funny to me that like 3 million people, it went from 24 million to 27 million. 3 million people waited until halftime to tune in. They were like, nope, we're not even going to watch these men fumble with their balls. We're going to wait for Beyonce to go on and then we're going to turn it off as soon as she's done. And you know what? I respect it because I turned it off as soon as she was done as well. um, just like, again, throwing back to the little things that she does to pay homage to her past career, she had her dance captain, Ashley Everett, back, who anyone in the Beehive knows who Ashley is. And anyone who's not in the Beehive also probably knows who Ashley is, because if you've seen the Single Ladies video, she is one of the women dancing aside Beyonce. So, I mean, everybody knows that music video. I don't know if everybody knows the levels of who Ashley is. Like, they might just think that they're two background dancers. So we're here to give you a little Beyonce 101. So Ashley Everett and Beyonce have been working together for, I think, like 17 years or so. One of the first videos Ashley did with Beyonce was Get Me Bodied back on B-Day, which B-Day came out in 2006. So we're talking almost 20 years ago. So they've been working together for a long time. She has been Beyonce's dance captain for every era, every tour since then, essentially. She did the Formation World Tour. She did Coachella. Like, she has been dancing alongside Beyonce for years. And she's kind of been like a staple within, Beyonce's career. So when the Renaissance World Tour started and Ashley wasn't a part of it, it was definitely a little like, what is going on? Like, it was strange, but we had Amari step in, who was incredible. And I mean, it was kind of like this new era of Beyonce. It was, I was just talking about Beyonce's like recent behavior and how it's unlike anything we've seen. I mean, let alone like having this new outlook on life, like she talks about in the Renaissance World Tour documentary, just like having an album release date for a Beyonce album. We have not had that since four. So like she's just doing things that are like not traditional. I feel like she's in this new era of her life. And so going into the Renaissance and like the 3 act project, it wasn't that surprising to see her working with somebody new. But you know, as a fandom, like when you're used to seeing somebody up there, it was just like it's like to any Swifties listening, it would be like if Paul wasn't on stage with Taylor, her guitar player. Like it was just like one of those people who was in, you know, in that world who you always expect to see on stage with her. So when Amari came in, I mean, it was amazing. I love Amari. I think she was fabulous on the Renaissance World Tour, but it was weird. It was strange to have somebody new. So the day of, Ashley posts on her story, surprise, and it's her in a Cowboy Carter outfit performing alongside Beyonce and Amari, which again, just tying 2 eras of her career together. And it was, if you look at the moment, it was during Sweet Honey Buckin' when they have like that breakdown after Shabuzi performs. On the left is Ashley, on the right is Amari, and then Beyonce's in the middle. And it just kind of like gave this like full circle like Beyonce career highlight. And I think this album is exactly that. This is such a career major moment in Beyonce's life. So I think having all of these callbacks and all of these people involved, it's just, it adds that extra level of like importance to this performance. We also saw a ton of the Renaissance World Tour dancers on the stage with her, so that was just cool to see all of them kind of continue through this 3 act project. And I'm sure when the Cowboy Carter tour does eventually end up happening, she will have a lot of the same performers, and it'll just really be like a full completed family project. You know, it feels like a big group project with all these people, and I just love that. She also had Arkansas's first Black rodeo queen in one of the cars drive across the field along with the Texans owner, so the owner of the football team. So just like, again, she's so thoughtful with the way that she includes people and moments in her performances. I think having the owners of the Texans is just her almost like saying like, thank you for, you know, inviting me to your stadium, letting me do this, and just like paying her respect to Houston, which obviously we all know is her entire personality trait at this point. But then to think like that one step further and have the first Black rodeo queen in a car behind them, it just kind of reinforces the whole idea of Cowboy Carter of like, hey, don't forget where country music is rooted in Black culture. And I love the way that she's able to just like pay respect and really just give the people who have helped kind of shape the way in this their flowers. I love it. I think it's so admirable. Obviously, I mean, Blue Ivy performing with her will never get old. Seeing her like in the entire performance, like they have her in the beginning during the like call out during Yaya. She's dancing during My House, which My House, oh my God. I was not expecting her to perform that song. And when she started it, I was watching it with my boyfriend's family. They saw a side of me they have never seen before. My House is my favorite song that was released in 2023. Despite it coming out at the very tail end of the year, it's so good. And I feel like people didn't appreciate it. And I was really worried that Beyonce was going to pay it dust. But the fact that she performed it during this performance, oh my God, I was fucking gagged. You guys, I was not expecting that at all. But again, just seeing Blue Ivy throughout this performance and really like coming into her own as a performer and shining. I mean, she has the number one movie in the world right now, or in the US. I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating, but she has the number 1 movie somewhere, to say the least, with Mufasa. So just to see her really thriving and like coming into her own as a performer, like I said, it is incredible. I love it. And again, she really just showed her pride for where she's from, Houston. Like being able to perform Texas Hold'em, like she said, for the first time in Houston was so monumental. And again, this is her first televised live performance since 2020, I want to say, since the Grammys, when she opened up the Grammys. So it's been a long time since she's done like a televised performance. And this was just such an incredible way for her to, you know, completely just like end the year. She's had a crazy big year, which we're going to get into all of her accolades, you know, in my year in review. But I thought it was just like the perfect way to end this year for her and really get ready to kick off 2025, because I really feel like the best has yet to come, because whatever this January 14th announcement is, girl, oh my God. So pivoting into that really quick, because again, we have a lot to talk about. The performance ends, and the last 2 times Beyonce did a halftime, they were Super Bowls, so they were a little bit higher stakes, but it's still a halftime show. Like, it's still a major moment. The last 2 times she did a halftime performance, she announced 2 tours. So it's almost like on this album has the most Grammy nominations of any album in history. Like, for her to start a new album cycle and era the month before the Grammys when there's so much riding at stake for this album, it just doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna rule out an Act 3 announcement in January because it just doesn't make sense. I could see us getting an Act 3 announcement in 2025, but I don't think it's coming in January. I think that would just be, it would be a dumb career move. So we will see. Again, I don't know. However, I do think we could be getting two or three things. Number one, people are thinking she's going to headline the Houston Rodeo, which I could definitely see. They're announcing their lineup on January 9th, so I could see them doing like a January 9th announcement. January 14th, tickets go on sale, maybe. I could also see her announcing her tour on the 14th. Live Nation did repost it, so it is kind of giving, tour something with that aspect, and she didn't do a tour last year, so she's due to do a tour if she does it in the same way that she did with Renaissance. It's like the year after, so I could see a tour announcement, but I also could see her doing a documentary for the Beyoncé Bowl and dropping it on the 14th. I think there was a lot that went into this. Well, clearly there was a lot that went into the performance. I mean, she had special guests, she had all the dancers, whatever. Like, this was a huge moment in her career. So I do think that she could drop a documentary about getting ready for this performance. I mean, she does it a lot. She's done it with so many of her past tours. She did it for like Live at the Roseland. She did it for when she did her comeback show for Blue Ivy. She did Coachella. Like, she's done a lot of documentaries showing about the preparation behind the scenes of what goes into her performance. So I could see her dropping a Netflix special about the behind the scenes of the Beyoncé Bowl. Not to mention, she does have a third obligation in her Netflix contract that she has to fulfill. So that might be her way to kind of just like end that contract and, move on to whatever's next in her career or like in her, Rolodex of music to release. She had Homecoming that came out back in 2019, 2020. When did Homecoming come out? Yeah, I want to say it was 2019 or 2020. Then she just did this. So there's one more thing in her contract that she signed back in 2018. So I could see that happening. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen on the 14th. Knowing Beyonce is going to be like a new sacred product or something. But that being said, I am very excited for whatever is in store on January 14th. And of course, I will keep you guys in the loop as we get there. Moving on to the next moment we're going to talk about is SZA finally releasing LANA. It has been a running joke on this podcast that we are waiting for SZA to drop LANA for almost a year now. I honestly want to say it's been a year, probably to date, since she has been teasing this album, and it is finally here, and it is perfect. It was worth the wait. SZA, one thing about her, she's going to march to the beat of her own drum and release music, release her project however the fuck she wants it. And you know what? Every time she delivers a flawless project, so she could do no wrong. She could do whatever she wants. I don't really care. That is fine with me. But before we get into my thoughts on the album, which I just kind of spoiled it, I think is perfect, I did think it was really interesting the way that the album didn't come out at midnight on the 20th. She was like, oh, I need a few more minutes. We're going to push it to, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 12 o'clock Pacific time. Very weird. The fact that like she announced this album and this project and teased it for a year and it wasn't ready to go up at midnight and they needed a few more hours. Like, something about that just seemed very strange to me. And I don't think it was SZA's fault. The reason I say that is because less than a week after she releases this album or this deluxe version of SOS, she parts ways with her manager, who fully took the blame for the album being late. So I'm curious to know like the behind the scenes of like what their relationship was like. And she did say, she said, there's nothing to celebrate. It's the end of an era. I wish him the best, whatever his choices may be. So I don't necessarily think it was a negative split, but I definitely think the album like not being done on time probably has something to do with it. It just felt really weird that like the album got pushed back 12 hours, whatever it was, and then they part ways less than a week after it comes out. I don't know. That being said, the album's fucking great. It's flawless. SZA can do no wrong in my eyes. Right now, my top three are BMF, My Turn, and 30 for 30. They change every day, though. Like, I have been obsessed with this album. I cannot wait to hear 30 for 30 live at SZA and Kendrick's tour next summer. Oh my God, it's so good. And like I said, SZA just does no wrong to me. Like, no matter what she releases, it's always so well done. I mean, maybe it's not well done because this rollout was fucking trash, but regardless, the album's great. I love it. But all of that being said, it is finally time for the 2024 moments of the year that were just too pop to handle. 2024 has been an insane year for pop culture. I mean, from all of the music releases to all of just like the crazy shit that went down, the viral memes, holding space for Defying Gravity, Moodang. Like, there has been so much that has gone on in the pop culture sphere this year. It just feels insane. Like, even going through the list and like looking at all of the things that happened, I was like, holy shit, we lived so many lives as a whole this year. And even I was overwhelmed. Like, I literally host a pop culture podcast, and even I was like, what the I forgot about half the things that happened because there was so much that went on. I was like, what the fuck? But we're gonna go through all the things that we loved, all the things that we didn't love. We are doing this too pop to handle style with my yeses and my messes of 2024. If you are new here, every episode I end with a yes and a mess of the week. My yes being something I'm loving, mess being something I am not loving. And I did this last year and it was really fun. So I thought it would be fun to look at the year as a yes standpoint and my mess. So we're going to start on a high note on all the things that I loved from 2024. And honestly, there are a lot more things that I loved. So, you know, it is a positive thing. But then we're going to look at all the things from 2024 that were a little messy, things I didn't love, or things that just like, you know, we could have done without. So without further ado, I give to you 2024, a pop culture year in review, and we are taking it way back to January. We're taking it from the top, and I would be doing a disservice to you guys if I didn't start this list with the iconic receipts, proof, timeline, screenshots, fucking everything. The way that this year started with the Reality Von Tease finale of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, it really set the bar for the year. Like, we went into this year with such a crazy pop culture reality TV moment that we should have known that there was a storm ahead of us. And I feel like Real Housewives of Salt Lake City has continued to be such a knockout franchise, even with this new season. Like, they had really, really big shoes to fill after that finale. And this season, if you've been listening for a while, you know that I've been saying season 5 of Salt Lake City has been just as good, if not better than season 4. And it is just it's so nice to see when a show can continue to grow and just get better, even after having such a major moment happen at the top of the year. So kicking it off with the first thing that really set the tone for the year was Miss Heather Gay, Monica, however you want to spin it, the Reality Von Tease of it all. Moving through, this technically happened in 2023, but it carried through the beginning of 2024, and it was really a strong, like, prominent moment, and it is Gypsy Rose. She was released in December of 2023, but then she gained this virality in January of 2024. I mean, the D is fire, getting her nose job, rekindling with her ex, and breaking up with Ryan, the guy she, like, left prison, did the whole, like, press tour with. Like, she really kicked off this year with a bang and has just continued. Now she's pregnant. Like, she has literally lived so many lives this year. I feel like she obviously was in prison. She did her time, did what she had to do. And now she is out and she's like, I'm going to make up for all of that lost time. And I feel like she just like really having the year kick off with the D is fire. I was like, oh girl, we are in for a treat this year with Gypsy Rose being free. The next thing on my list is The Traitor Season 2. I mean, that show took the world by storm. There were so many viral memes. I mean, not Ekin Sue. We had MJ standing there and like with her hands in her pocket, like Phaedra just making some of the best reality TV moments. Like, the entire season was phenomenal. And it was just like, it really set the bar high for what was to come in 2024. It was just something was in the air when they filmed that season, and it was fantastic. Ugh, I cannot wait for season 3. Moving right along into February, we had the Grammys, which I feel like 2025 Grammys have this like stake of like, oh my God, it's going to be a bloodbath. But I don't want everybody to forget how good the 2024 Grammys were. I mean, Miley Cyrus winning her first Grammy and then going on to perform Flowers, which was like the song of the year for 2023. Like, it was such a moment. And then her little moment of being like, I just won my first Grammy, and dancing around on the stage. It was such an incredible moment. And again, like, all of these things really were setting the tone for such a killer year in pop culture, and we had no idea what was ahead in store for us. We also had Taylor announcing Tortured Poets Department, which was fucking crazy. We all thought she was going to go up there and release or announce Reputation Taylor's version, and lo and behold, there was a whole new album that ended up being a double album, which we'll get into in a few minutes, but like, that was such a crazy moment. We also had the first time ever where the big four were all women. Song of the year was Billy, What Was I Made made for. Best New Artist was Victoria Monet. Record of the Year went to Miley. Like I said, Album of the Year went to Taylor. So for the first time ever, the Big Four category being all women is something to celebrate. I just loved it. I'm so excited for the Grammys next year. It's going to be fucking crazy. But the 2024 Grammys, they were a good one. I thought it was such a good show, and it was such a pivotal moment in 2024. Moving on to the next pivotal moment of 2024 was the Super Bowl. I mean, this is really the gay theater kid in me coming out, but that was our first look at Wicked, which we knew it was going to be big, but I don't think any of us realized how massive the Wicked press promo and everything was going to become. And that was our first taste of it. And that trailer, I swear, I ran that first preview look, whatever. It was a first look, not the trailer. I ran that first look into the fucking ground. My God. That night, we also had the Taylor and Travis on-field moment where they shared a kiss, which that was really the first moment we saw the two of them share PDA like that. And again, those two, I feel like 2023 was a big year for them, just like getting together and like celebrating their relationship. But 2024 was the real like rollout of their relationship and like them giving us looks inside of their relationship and like what, how they're feeling, what they're kind of like, just getting a better idea of their relationship as a whole this year. And that was really like the first look into it that we had. And then, of course, the biggest moment from the game, Beyoncé announcing Act 2. I mean, that was fucking unbelievable. That Verizon performance or Verizon commercial rather, and then her saying, all right, drop the music, and Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriage just coming out, and us being like, oh my God, she's releasing a country album. It was like getting the confirmation of the 3-act project, finding out that it is country, and then Texas Hold'em becoming the first #1 song by a Black artist ever. Like, it was just such a fucking moment. Oh my God, I like get chills thinking about it. It was crazy. And like looking at the year as a whole now, Beyonce announcing Cowboy Carter at the Super Bowl and then ending the year by and just like looking at the year as a whole now, like starting the year with Beyonce announcing Cowboy Carter at the Super Bowl and then her ending the year performing at the NFL Christmas Day halftime show, it would really take like a full circle way to round out the year and again, just like gear us up for whatever the fuck is in store in 2025. Because honestly, I am terrified for what Beyonce has up her sleeve for this January announcement. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. And that was the Super Bowl. And then also in February, we had the Who the Fuck Did I Marry series with Risa Tisa on TikTok, which is now getting turned into a TV show. That was such an insane moment for the internet. And it really was like the first viral moment, I feel like, of the year. I mean, viral TikTok moment, like not celebrity moment, you know what I mean? It was the first like TikTok trend that really took off, that 50+ part series. Like people were glued to her profile waiting for the next part of it. And it was such a major part of 2024. February also ended with Charlie XCX releasing Brat, which again, just set the catalyst for like what the fuck this year was going to become, because I don't think anybody seeing the Brat announcement would have expected what Brat was to become in 2024. The next thing on my list is Rihanna's performance at that Indian wedding back in February. It was her first time doing any performance since the Super Bowl in 2023. Again, it was private. It was like at a wedding, but the fact that Rihanna even stepped outside to do a performance was insane. It was kind of equivalent to Beyonce doing that Dubai performance. It's like these big stars getting paid these millions of dollars to do these private performances will never not like blow my mind. And again, when you're at Beyonce, Rihanna status, like doing a performance like that it's insane. And that Rihanna was like rumored to get paid $8 to $9 million, which when you think about the fact that the wedding cost $150 million as a whole and also lasted like 7 days long, I mean, 8 million doesn't really scratch the surface. So, she got her payout, but looking at the grand scheme of that wedding, fucking insane. And then March comes along and we get Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande, which nobody could have expected Ariana to release an album in this year. It was just like so out of left field, even for her. She says time and time again, she's like, I wasn't preparing or ready to release an album, but just all of the drama going on with Ethan and all the shit going on with her divorce, she was like, I had so much to say that I just needed to get in the studio and release something. And I am so glad that she did. The album went on to go #1 on the Billboard 200 chart, making it her 6th #1 on the chart. And every single track from the album charted on the Billboard Hot 100. So, we all ate it up. Everybody turned on Ariana. And I say it time and time again. I'm like, everybody hated her until she released new music or until Wicked came out. But you know what? Never me. Next up was another viral moment that we had. We had the Wonka experience in Glasgow, which really took the internet and the world by storm. And it's crazy to think that the Wonka experience was in this calendar year. I feel like that was eons ago. Like, I feel like that was for fucking ever ago. But I remember when that happened, I was like, oh my God, people will fall for anything on the internet. It is insane. And then we get to the middle of March and we get the Cowboy Carter release, which really just like set the precedent for Beyonce and this incredible benchmark year that she had. The album went on to debut at #1 on the Billboard Top 200, making it Beyonce's 8th consecutive #1 album, which, mind you, she only has 8 albums. So every single album she has ever released has gone #1, which is crazy. It was also the first album by a Black woman to top the country album charts. It's now the most Grammy nominated album ever, and it made her the most Grammy nominated artist of all time. She was already the most decorated. She already had the most Grammys, but now she's officially the most Grammy nominated and holds the record for the most Grammy nominations for an album ever. And it just really reinforces the fact that like Cowboy Carter is such a milestone in Beyonce's already incredible career. And all of these decades and years later, she is still continuing to outdo herself and make monumental projects in her career. There's nobody doing it like Beyonce. Argue with the wall. Next up is an artist who had a standout 2024, and that is no other than Chappell Roan. She released Good Luck Babe in April of this year. Obviously, Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess came out in 2023, and it was rising, it was doing its thing, but Good Luck Babe coming out, I feel like really was a cemented stance in Chappell Roan's career, only then to be followed by the Coachella performance a week later, which, moving on to our next thing on this list, Coachella. Between like the excitement of Good Luck Babe getting released and like the rise of that song and this Coachella performance, I mean, I'm your favorite artist, that crowd that she pulled, like it was really a turning point in not just Chappell's career, but I feel like in a lot of people's understanding of what was happening with Chappell Roan. I feel like a lot of people thought like, yeah, Good Luck Babe was doing well, but like it wasn't hitting the masses the way that it kind of like a lot of things kind of stay on the internet and that's it. The crowds that Chappell Roan started pulling after Coachella or at Coachella and then every single festival after was something out of this world. And I'm not going to talk about every single performance Chappell Roan did this year, obviously, because that would be excessive, but like just looking at the insane growth that she had every single time she performed at a festival, pulling the largest crowd, the way that her album would just skyrocket, and just like her career and success this year was something we have not seen really ever, or at least in a few decades. Like it is really insane the way that the world just took Chappell Roan and blew her up, and I'm so stoked to see what's in store for her for 2025. But while we're on the topic of Coachella, we also had the first kind of hint at the Sweat Tour. If you remember, Charlie performed at Coachella, and on her billboard it said Charlie and Troy, which kind of alluded to something coming from them, which then ended up being the Sweat Tour, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. We also had Sabrina with an insane Coachella weekend. She announced, or released rather, Espresso the week of Coachella, performed it for the first time weekend 1, and I don't think anybody could have had any idea how insanely huge this song was going to become. It was her first top 10 hit, her first song to ever top the chart. Like this song, I mean, we all know Espresso. It took the world by fucking storm. And I just think like the timing of releasing it right before Coachella and then having the Coachella performance and then it going viral from there, and just she just had this up and up and up and up. And obviously this is not the last time, excuse me, we're going to talk about Sabrina in this whole thing, but it really was just the year for pop girls. I've said it on so many episodes of this podcast, but like Chappell, Charlie, Sabrina, Taylor, Beyoncé, Ariana, like all of these artists really had such standout years. And I think they all did it in such a unique way to themselves that like they never really overshadowed each other. They kind of all had their own moments and did their own thing, and it just worked. And I think the fact that they did their own things and did it their own way is why it worked so well. You know, they all obviously there's always going to be like the bones of an album rollout. You know, you announce it, you do the promo, you do the interviews, you do the press, you do the performance, you know, like there's always going to be like the bare bones of it. But I really think they all, like thinking like Charlie doing Brat, if you look at Sabrina doing Short and Sweet, they're two completely different album rollouts, but they both had such success this year because they were so authentically promoted. Same with Cowboy Carter. Like if you compare Cowboy Carter and Tortured Poets Department, those two albums had such crazy years, but they had such different ways of being rolled out and ways of being promoted, where Taylor was on a tour while the album got announced, where Beyoncé is just doing her first performance of the album now, but has been continuously growing the album and, you know, giving it to us and hinting at different things with it. Like there's been such different rollouts for all of these albums. And I think that's what really made this year such a monumental year in pop music, because we were getting different things from these artists that weren't overshadowing each other, if that makes sense. Moving along, speaking of people who had crazy years, Coachella, wrapping it up with that, Taylor and Travis attended, and that was crazy. To see Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce in the crowd at Coachella, I was like, this is like a dog walking on his hind legs. It was fucking crazy. And while we're on the topic of Taylor Swift, then came Tortured Poets Department release, which was obviously monumental. It was already going to be major, and then she decided to release a double album, which she is just fucking insane. Like that was nuts. Releasing two albums in one day. It was something we had always joked about and talked about, I feel like, within like the Taylor Swift fandom. But when it finally happened, I was like, holy shit, this woman is crazy. Again, it just like shook the entire world. And then it shook us even more when we realized the album wasn't even about Joe Alwyn and it was about Maddie Healy. That was the real gag of the album. Like that really is what shook me to my core. I was like, wait, this album isn't about Joe at all. There's like one or two songs about him. Everything else is about Maddie Healy, which is fucking crazy. It ended up becoming the biggest album debut in US Spotify history. Spent 17 weeks at #1. You know, it's Taylor Swift. Obviously, she's going to perform numbers that are just so astronomical, and it's very well deserved. I will always champion Taylor Swift in that sense. On the same day that we got Tortured Poets Department, we also had the Drag Race finale. And anybody who's been listening since I recapped Drag Race last season knows that I was cheering for Nymphia Wind from day one. So when she won Drag Race season 16, I was over the fucking moon, and I was just so thrilled to see her win and take that crown because she really was so deserving of it. Moving on through April, we also had the first Brat Wall performance, which really started to set the scene for what Charlie had in store for Brat. She was really doing things that, like, in what world are you getting a wall and painting it on TikTok Live and then showing up and doing a DJ set and performing in the middle of the street? Like, she was doing such fun things with this album rollout, and it really started to get that momentum of like, oh fuck, like people are tuned the fuck in for this album. And again, this was only April, and we had no idea what was to come for Brat when it came out 2 months later. Moving on, we also had Challengers come out in April, which I feel like was like the talk of the town and one of the biggest movie releases of this year. From the press tour to the virality of like that kissing scene with the two boys and Zendaya, like it was crazy. The soundtrack was so good. Challengers really had like such a chokehold on the culture this year. It was fabulous. I loved it. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I feel like it's like a very split. Some people, you either love it or you hate it. I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. I love the soundtrack. I thought everyone did such a good job, but you know, movies are meant to be understood differently by all different types of people. So it is what it is. But there's no way you can look at 2024 and not mention Challengers just because of the impact that it had on the year. Moving right along, another TikTok moment, we had the Four Seasons Orlando baby. Not much to say there, but again, that meme, it was one of those moments where everybody got on trend with it. Everybody picked it up. Everybody was doing it. Everybody was memeing it. It was everywhere. And it was as simple as a little baby saying, I want to go to Four Seasons Orlando. And it just, again, took over the world. The virality this year was crazy. The next moment we're going to chat about is probably the best clapback I have ever heard in my life. And it is Jasmine Crockett telling Marjorie Green that she has a bleach blonde, bad built butch body. That is the cuntiest response to anyone. And the fact that it only stemmed from Marjorie Taylor Greene reading her for her fake eyelashes and trying to like come for her looks there. And she instantly came back with that. Like, you know, she had that ready to go. She was waiting for the moment that somebody misstepped and, you know, she took that wrong turn with her and she was like, oh, you want to play? Girl, I'm going to double down with you. And I loved it. It was the ultimate clapback and just, ugh, iconic. Moving on, we made it to the first Monday of May, which was the Met Gala, which every year, whether it's good or bad, you can't look at the year in pop culture and not mention the Met Gala. It's just such a staple in, the beginning of spring. It's kind of kicking off the summer, and it's one of those moments that people, I mean, me included, just like sits on their couch and watches the live stream because I'm like, what is everybody wearing? Did they stay on theme? Most of the time they did not. And this year, I really thought it was a good Met Gala. Just to remind you guys, the theme was Sleeping Beauty's Reawakening Fashion, and the dress code was Garden of Time. Zendaya had 3 looks. Ariana and Cynthia performed. Like, it was just such a killer Met Gala. And we also got videos inside of the actual gala, which we usually don't get. But the fact that we have full video footage of Ariana's performance, that is insane. But thank God that we did, because seeing pop star Ariana back was just chef's kiss, unbelievable. We also had the roast of Tom Brady, which I feel like really made some waves. Everybody booing Kim Kardashian. And I feel like after the roast of Tom Brady, Nikki Glaser really just had like a crazy skyrocket to her career. I feel like she is everywhere now. I'm so excited for her to host the Golden Globes. I feel like it's going to be hilarious, but I feel like that was really a catalyst for her year and just kind of like catapulted her into, she was already obviously major, she's Nikki Glaser. Like, she's very successful. She's hilarious already. But I think the roast of Tom Brady really won a lot of people over for her, and it really kind of opened a lot of opportunities for what was to come in 2024 for her. Then we also, speaking Nikki Glaser, the Eras Tour was back. We all know Nikki Glaser went to like 19,000 Eras Tours, but the Eras Tour was back in Paris, and Taylor added Tortured Poets Apartment to the set list, which was so major and so exciting. We also, that month, had Sabrina Carpenter dropping Please, 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 which ended up debuting at #1, and it was obviously making waves because Barry Keoghan was in the music video, and after the success and like all eyes were on her after Espresso, she had a lot to live up to with Please, Please, Please. And she even memed it with that person saying, like, imagine fumbling this bad with having Espresso and then this being your follow-up. But then Please, Please, Please outperformed Espresso in this first week. So like, clearly she knew what she was doing. And again, it just kind of helped to like build that catalyst of the year for her. The next thing is maybe not the highlight for everybody, but it's the highlight of my year. We had Gov Ball. She actually released Please, Please, Please the week of Gov Ball. So it mimicked that strategy of releasing Espresso the week of Coachella and then releasing Please, Please, Please the week of Gov Ball. Gov Ball was just such a highlight for me this year. It really was like probably the best weekend I had all year long. I did a full recap of it. If you're interested in hearing about it, I mean, Chappell Roan, Sabrina, SZA, Renee Rapp, like it was just such an incredible weekend. I like whenever I'm with like the girlfriends that I went to Gov Ball with this year, all we did was talk about how fantastic it was. Like it was just it was such a major weekend. We also had Charlie XCX releasing Brat that same weekend, and it really was the kickoff of Brat summer. Like that was such a fucking crazy, that album coming out and then just like skyrocketing and catapulting into the world, and it just continued to get crazier and crazier and crazier as time went on. Brat was such a defining moment of 2024, and it's really like I said on my album review of 2024, like my top 10, Brat and Eternal Sunshine flip-flop every other day of my favorite albums of the year. Those 2 albums have just been so monumental in my world of pop music, but like seeing the success of Brat and being a fan of Charlie XCX for as long as I have been, like seeing this commercial success that she's having and her finally getting these flowers that she deserves for so many albums ago, it is just so incredible. And we're going to talk about Charlie more, so I'll, put a pin in it for now. We also had the premiere of Love Island USA season 6, which again, just took the world by storm. It was such a good season. It was a lot to watch, I will say. Like Love Island is hard to commit to because it's every single day, but my God, was this season unbelievable. We also had the Eras Tour hit London, which was just like a major weekend for the Eras Tour for so many reasons, but the biggest reason is Travis Kelce making his Eras Tour debut and carrying Taylor down the stage during the Tortured Poets Apartment set. It was fucking crazy. Like everybody remembers where they were when that moment happened. It was like everybody was like, there's no way this is really happening. Like it was crazy. And it was so fun when that actually happened. I had one of my best friends, Jacqueline, come on because she was at the show when it happened. So we had like the boots on the ground kind of narrative of it. So that was a really fun episode to do, and just like such a crazy moment to talk about and like to look back at 2024 when you compare like Taylor's past relationship to this one and seeing all the shit only by June that they had done. Fucking nuts. We also had the birth of Mudang in July, or maybe, okay, sorry, Eras Tour, I think in London was also July, but Mudang was also born in July, which another bitch that just took the internet by storm. Like, the virality of that little fucking hippo was crazy. And you know what? I loved it. I ate every single second up. It was so wild to watch the world just like take this little hippo and make it a viral star. But you know what? That's the beauty of the internet. Also the beauty of the internet, we also had Trump's assassination attempt in July, and I'm going to leave it at that. Staying on the topic of politics, we had Joe Biden drop out of the race, Kamala step in, and that just like really was a turning point for the entire year. I feel like, obviously, spoiler alert, it didn't go the way that any of us wanted, but like Kamala coming in to like save the day for that political campaign, Charlie posting Kamala is brat, the Kamala HQ team just like taking off, and like just the way that Kamala really spearheaded that campaign and perfectly executed it from day one until the very last second when she stepped off that stage for her speech. Like, she had, it was, Also July, we had the Olympics, which, I mean, Lady Gaga performing. We had the Beyonce commercial, the pole vaulter with the giant dick who got stuck on the thing. We had the opening ceremony drama with the table and all the people saying, oh, the drag queens and this and that. Celine Dion performed. Simone Biles was proving that she's like a superhuman. Like, it was such a crazy year for the Olympics. And it just like, again, watching that all in real time, I felt like this year was just like, I was even like, what the fuck? Like, buckle up. There is so much happening. We had Shakari win her first gold medal. Like, so many major things that came out of the Olympics this year. And it was, again, like, everything went so viral this year. It was something that we hadn't seen before. And I think maybe because of TikTok, which, go figure, is probably getting banned in 2 weeks. But I really think TikTok played such a major role in all of these things becoming as big as they did. And again, like, the fact that it's getting banned in a few weeks, I can't even get into. um, this is just something that I love. The next thing on my list, and I think like it's a niche pop culture corner of the internet, but my God, did it flip things upside down for my Apple Music replay. Diet Pepsi by Addison Rae gets released, and it really just like solidified her as a pop girl. She was like, you guys know me from TikTok and like my EP that I put out, but like that was not the end. I have more to come, and my God, did I eat up every single second. The music video, the song, the performance at the Sweat Tour, which we'll get into, like, it was just such a moment this year. There was no way I could not mention that fucking release on this list. We also had The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives premiere that month. I still haven't watched it, but it really did take the world by storm. Speaking of releases, Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter comes out at the end of August, debuts at number one. It sold like 6.7 million copies in its first week. It was such a major career moment for Sabrina. And again, it just continued to just grow and grow and grow. And Sabrina had such an insane year that it just, ugh, I love to see it. It is what she deserves. We also had Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber welcome their first child, a baby boy named Jack Blues Bieber, which, I mean, the two of them, I just feel like they, obviously the two of them have had their controversies and their scandals and this and that, but to see the two of them like renew their vows, have a baby, and really they seem to be like thriving in their relationship, and they seem to really be this rock solid couple. I mean, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but like just seeing the two of them like welcome a child, and like Justin Bieber becoming a dad after being this like major pop icon to so many of us who grew up in that era, it was a very major pop culture moment. Kind of similar to like the Hailey Bieber friend group, we had the moment where Kylie, Jordan, and Stassi reunited on TikTok, which was fucking crazy. If you know, you know. Another TikTok moment, very demure, very mindful. I feel like that is the real trend that really took the world by storm. Everything else that I've mentioned, Moo Dang, the Four Seasons Orlando baby, Who the Fuck Did I Marry? They were major, major moments, don't get me wrong, but I feel like very demure, very mindful. hit the world and just like exploded. It was such a crazy viral moment. And I've talked about it so many times on this podcast, but like seeing the aftermath of like Jules being able to pay for her transition surgery and like being able to like afford to live now and like all of this, all of the like troubles and tribulations that she went through before that. And then it just, the way it took off, every brand in the world, every celebrity in the world, everybody was using that trend and like that name. And it was just everywhere. Next up on my list is the VMAs. We had Chappell Roan's performance, which was fucking insane. I mean, the castle, the flames, just like performing Good Luck Babe on the VMA stage after the success that she's had and like making her debut VMA performance after the bookmark year that she has had. It was insane. It was incredible. Another incredible performance was Sabrina Carpenter kissing the alien, ending with that shot on the astronauts. I think about that at least once a week. That was such a killer way to end that performance with her laying on the moon mans. I loved it. We also had Katy Perry's Vanguard performance, which I loved. I have some thoughts about Katy Perry, which will be on the latter half of the episode if you're catching my drift, but I do think Katy's Vanguard performance was unbelievable. I fucking loved it. And speaking of performances that were unbelievable, we had the Sweat Tour kickoff, which just took the world by storm. And this is what I mean with all of these albums having such different rollouts and different like ways that they rose to how they did. The Sweat Tour kicking off, and like when they announced the Sweat Tour, Brat wasn't out. We didn't know what was to come. It was just a co-headlining tour between Charlie and Troy. And it was like gonna be fun. It was gonna be gay. It was gonna be a dance party. We were gonna sweat, no pun intended. But like the way that Brat took off after the Sweat Tour went on sale and just made the Sweat Tour this bigger moment, and just like it was such a crazy moment for concert culture, for pop culture. Like it was unreal. I mean, Lorde performing with her, Kesha performing with her, Addison performing with her. The Sweat Tour was a tour for the books. I'm so glad that I got to go to that tour. It was unbelievable. Another unbelievable moment in the pop culture world this year was Sabrina Carpenter helping get Mayor Adams indicted. That story is one of my favorites from this year, and I love that she mentioned it at her MSG show. Like that was just such a crazy full circle moment when we look back at the Feather music video last year and the uproar that it caused, and then for it to later come out that like Mayor Adams is now getting indicted because of an investigation that spawned from that music video and the priest who owns that church or was, at that church. Just like those are the pop culture moments that I live for, like those accidental happy accidents when the pop girl ends up winning. 10 out of 10. Speaking of another pop girl winning, we then had Charlie drop the Brat Remix album, which was in October. It was actually the same day that she released the Brat Remix album. I went to the Sweat Tour in Denver, which was such a fun moment to like be there for kind of the album release show. She said that like that's what it was to her. So that was crazy. And that remix album, like the rollout for that, all the billboards, getting Ariana on it, Caroline Polachek, like all of these, the artists on that remix album are crazy. Billie Eilish, like it was so good. And again, just continued to like feed the fire that was the Brat era. It was unbelievable. And I love that like Charlie is making the music that she has always wanted to make, and everybody is eating it up. It is finally getting that commercial mainstream success that people are finally getting it. And it's so rewarding to see, just like as a fan, like I said, like it is so cool to see her getting this commercial success after all of these years. And moving on to our next moment of the year that was just too pop to handle, Ariana Grande on SNL. Now, this was her second appearance on SNL this year. First one to promote Eternal Sunshine. The second one was obviously to kick off the Wicked press tour that was kind of beginning. And this episode, the viewership, the virality of it, the way that people took Domingo, Castrati, whatever that skit was, like there were so many crazy viral moments from this episode. And I honestly think that episode, I think the world was still a little iffy on where they stood with Ariana Grande. I think they were definitely like, they heard the music and they liked it or whatever, but they were still kind of like, ooh, she home wrecked that family. But I think SNL kicking off the Wicked tour and like the response and the way everybody just like obsessed over these skits, I think it really started the like flipping the coin on the narrative around Ariana for the year. And it really just set up such a successful receiving, I guess, for like such a successful way for people to receive her during the Wicked press tour. If was that even English? I don't know. You get what I'm saying. I think it really helped with the way people digested her on the Wicked press tour, because I do think she wasn't everybody's favorite at the beginning of the year, to say the least. But that was just such a crazy appearance for her, and such like a huge moment in the year as far as like pop culture moments go. So obviously that had to be on the list. Another moment that there's no world in which I could not talk about this again, because I just love it so much, is Andrew Garfield on Chicken Shop Date. His press tour for that whole movie was so well done. I thought he did really just like, he nailed it with all the interviews and all the press moments and everything. But the Chicken Shop Date was so perfectly done, and like the lore behind it with, you know, their past flirtationship on the red carpet. But for being such a highly anticipated interview, the two of them knocked it out of the park. It was so well done. And I mean, you guys, everybody has seen it. It is so good, and just it really it showed Amelia's interview skills, but also gave so much charm, and like really showed us a side of Andrew Garfield, of him being so flirty and being so, you know, that like that lover boy kind of vibe with Amelia. I loved it. The next thing that went insanely viral were these lookalike contests. It all started with the Timothée Chalamet one here in New York in Union Square when he showed up, and then it just went nuts. I feel like every single weekend now there's a lookalike contest, whether it's Glenn Powell, Jeremy Allen White. I saw one for Zayn Malik. Like, there is always a lookalike contest going on now, and it all stems from this Timothée Chalamet viral moment when he showed up to his own lookalike contest. Tying back to another one of our pop girls of the year, Chappell Roan, she went on SNL, and again, that was just such a big moment for her. There were so many, she had tweets saying like, one day I'm going to be on SNL, like I'm going to make it one day, and it had to be such a crazy pinch me moment for this to be, she said like after this year she didn't make it, she was quitting music after doing it for 10 years, and to knock so many of your bucket list things off in the year that was supposed to be like your last trial era, and to go on SNL, which is like a career highlight for anyone in the first year of your really big mainstream success, so major. And then for her to do that unreleased country song, clearly she has a lot up her sleeve for 2025, and she has a lot of like I think she's gonna keep us on her toes, and I just think that was like the perfect way to kind of like seal the year with her and like end things and give us one final like performance, right? It was her final, I'm pretty sure it was her final performance of the year, and just really like seal the deal and be like, all right, see you guys next year. And what better way to do it than with SNL? And then the big wig of the year. I mean, this, when you really look at 2024, I could do an entire episode. I actually did do an entire episode on this. Wicked. I mean, let alone the excitement and just like already fandemonium behind Wicked in and of itself, from the musical and having Ariana Grande in it and Cynthia Erivo, these two powerhouses. And if you think back to when Wicked was announced and it was like Ariana Grande is Glinda, but Cynthia Erivo is Elphaba, Ariana was clearly so known for her pop music and people were kind of iffy about it, where then we have Cynthia, who is this powerhouse vocalist that the Broadway community and the theater community and the vocalist community just respect and love so much. And I don't think they could have picked two better people for these roles. If you want my whole review on Wicked, I have a whole episode on it, so I'm not going to go into the movie itself, but just as a whole, the press tours, the promo for it, the album, the whole holding space thing, like there was just so many major pop culture moments. Look, again, tying back to the Super Bowl, like the Wicked first look, when the Wicked trailer dropped, like, and we still have another part coming out next year. Like, there is just, it's so crazy to see the way that Wicked has completely taken over, and I'm just so happy to be alive during it. Like, it is incredible, and I can't believe I can believe it, because Wicked, it deserves this platform. It deserves to be so well received, but like, I don't think anybody could have expected. I mean, we expected it to be big. Let me backpedal. We all knew it was going to be big, but again, I don't think anybody understood the magnitude in which Wicked was going to take over in the last quarter of the year. It really, like, it's still going crazy in the box office. It just released a sing-along. You're going to be able to watch it at home next week, or this week actually, on New Year's Eve, I think. Like, it is really just not slowing down, and we still have part 2 next year. So like, it is just not going to slow down until next year, I guess. So, and I'm fine with that. Please, I am happy to eat up all of the Wicked content for another year of my life. Again, we're dwindling down to the end of the year. Somebody that I didn't know exactly where to place her, because she had so many career highlights this year, but it really all kind of ended, like the real big moments have been towards the end of the year is Doechii. She's really had a milestone year this entire year. I've talked about her a ton on the podcast. I mean, between her mixtape coming out, and then she performed at Camp Flog Gnaw. I saw her at Gov Ball. Like, she had so many major milestones, but she is gunning on this Grammy campaign. Her Tiny Desk performance, her Stephen Colbert performance, her Genius open mic performance with Issa Rae. Like, she has been working, and I am so thrilled to see Doechii thriving. And again, I just cannot wait to see what is in store for her for 2025, because she has such a knockout year in 2024, but she is really like having a moment right now online. And I am thrilled to see how many people are finally jumping on the Doechii bandwagon, because it is what she deserves. That girl is a star, and she is going to be the next big thing. Like, she is already on the road there, but 2025, I'm saying it right now. I said it with Chapel last year. Last year on my 2023 recap episode, I said, keep your eye out on Chapel Roan. She's going to be the big thing next year. I am saying Doechii is going to be the big thing next year. I cannot wait to see what is in store for Doechii next year. And she has just had such a knockout year this year. It is incredible. Somebody who kind of took the world by storm more recently is our friend, and if you listen to my episode about this, you know what I'm about to do, but Luigi Mangione, America's boyfriend, if you will, he has just really come in at the end of this year and swooped the world by storm. I mean, even now, since I did that episode talking about the initial, I guess, like, assassination. I don't even know like how to talk about it without like, obviously at the end of the day, it is a murder. Like, it's not something to celebrate, but like, Luigi Mangi fucking Oni has come in at the end of this year and just taken the world by storm. Like, he looked so damn good in that courtroom, and I'm not going to go any further because, again, I'm not trying to, get a little too carried away, but he is such a pillar in 2024's culture, whether you like it or not. It is insane. And then the final bow on my yes list of 2024, because remember, we've only done my positives so far. We still have my negatives. My final bow, the thing that has really just wrapped 2024 in a little bag and put a bow on it and sent it off, is the Beyoncé halftime performance. I mean, what a way to end 2024. What a way to do a sign off on this year that has been such a major year for pop culture. Then with Beyoncé's first televised performance in 4 years. Unbelievable. My God. Like I said, 2024 has been an insane year for pop culture. And those were only my yeses. We still have my messes to go through. But as I said, my mess list is much shorter because this year was really a positive year in terms of culture to digest, for me at least. Like, there was a lot more yeses and there were messes, but of course you can't have highs without lows. So let's go through my messes now. These aren't in as chronological order as the yeses were. Those were pretty much in exact order as they happened. These ones, they're a little mixed bag. Some of them are in order, some of them are not, but we're just going to go through it. I'm not going to dive in deep into these because they're kind of self-explanatory, but obviously, when there's wins, there's got to be loses. And the first thing on my mess list is Kate Middleton. And now I'm not saying her as a person, but all of that drama surrounding her at the beginning of the year. Is she getting a BBL? Did she get a facelift? What is she doing? Are they getting, like, there were so many rumors only for it to come out that, like, everybody was being nosy as fuck and she was battling cancer. And I'm guilty of it too. I had a whole apology about it earlier this year because I was like, oh fuck, maybe we shouldn't joke about these things, because I even was like, oh, Kate got a BBL. Like, Kate is literally in Miami getting cement put into that bosom. Like, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And it ended up being cancer. So it kind of was a lesson for all of us to just kind of like keep our mouths shut. If somebody is going to tell us something, they will tell us. But it is a silver lining because she is now cancer free. So though it is the mess, the way that we all reacted to it and just like the chaos behind it, it does come out with a silver lining. The next thing, and now obviously there are some things on my mess list that were on my yes list, but there you'll understand. So the Grammys, Jay-Z's speech, obviously it was cool to see him kind of take a stab back at the Academy, but all I can think now is like, he was up there with his daughter on stage giving that speech, and like, yes, he was obviously praising Beyoncé, which is like my life mission to just like uplift Beyoncé, but now if and when Beyonce wins Album of the Year for Cowboy Carter, everybody is just instantly going to say, oh, she only won it because Jay-Z threw a fit last year at the Grammys. And it just upsets me that like an artist as big as Beyonce is now going to be degraded down to something her husband did last year, which was honestly probably completely out of her control. And for that reason, Jay-Z's Grammy speech to me was a mess, but it is what it is. The next thing is a feud, and it is actually the next three things are feuds. It is Nicki Minaj versus Megan Thee Stallion. That was a fucking mess. The next thing is Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively, which is still a mess. I can't even get into what the fuck is going on because last week Blake Lively is now counter-suing him, and like if you guys remember back when I was talking about this, I was Team Blake to begin with, and everybody on the internet convinced me to be Team Justin, and I switched right back as soon as he started working with Johnny Depp's like PR team, or not PR team, his legal team. As soon as Justin Baldoni started working with Johnny Depp's legal team, I was like, nope, I am out. Absolutely fucking not. And now all of this is coming out about Blake Lively and how she was sexually harassed by him on set. And now today, literally a few hours ago, he announced that he's going to counter-sue her now. It's just such a fucking mess. And I honestly, like, I never want to hear about this fucking movie again. I don't. I want justice to be served. Like, I want whoever was in the wrong to do to be held accountable for it. But my God, am I fucking tired about hearing about these two. And then the next is Drake versus Kendrick. I think it's incredible the way that Not Like Us completely blew up, and like Kendrick absolutely deserved to get all of that success from it. But watching two grown men fight like that, I was like, you guys are grown men. Can we act like it? Like, can we be a little mature for once and like just, maybe handle this via DM? Maybe text each other. Granted, I will be screaming Not Like Us when I see Kendrick next year. I cannot fucking wait. Something I also noticed is that Nicki, Drake, and Lil Wayne were once on top of the world, and this year alone, no pun intended, they shot themselves in their big foot. Like, the three of them were literally like rap, like gods and goddesses. And this year alone, like Drake with the Kendrick thing, Drake just being a little bitch about it, Nicki being a fucking animal to Megan, and then Lil Wayne's whole meltdown over not getting the halftime show when it's in his hometown. Like, the three of them have really made clowns of themselves this year, where 6-7 years ago, I would have like fought to the death for the three of them, saying they were like the greatest rappers of all time. So it kind of just like really goes to show how people can completely like fuck themselves over just within a few years. Like, it's really kind of crazy. The next person on my list I will always be happy to talk shit about, and it is Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake getting a DUI this year. I mean, you are so rich. Why are you driving drunk? Why are you not calling an Uber? Why are you not getting a driver? And then to mutter when you're getting arrested, this is going to ruin the tour. You could have killed somebody. How about that? Like, you literally could have killed somebody by driving drunk, and you're worried about your tour. Justin Timberlake, I will always pray on your downfall. Moving on, the next person on my list is Ice Spice. She kind of had a flop year this year, and honestly in 2023, I really thought she was going to be on top of the world and just like really have another knockout year, but she kind of just like completely lost it all. Her album didn't really make any noise. She had all that drama with Central C, and like all of that shit went down. Like, she had everything in her hand, and just kind of, I think she got too cocky too quick, and it just kind of like went out the window. Like, she kind of, just like Nicki, just like, the person who kind of brought her into this world, shot herself in the foot. So she's a mess for me this year. Somebody else who was a mess for me this year, which needs no explanation, is Diddy. I mean, I'm not even going to go into it. The hell is not hot enough for Diddy, and he's really the biggest mess of 2024. The next duo on this list is somebody that I know everybody is tired of hearing about, and it is Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. I mean, I just feel like every other week, and JLo as a whole this year, I feel like between her tour getting canceled for low ticket sales, the whole drama with her movie not getting picked up by any network, and then she self-funded it and it completely flopped, and then getting divorced from Ben Affleck after like everything that went on, and then they're back together, and then they're seen with their kids, and I'm gonna stand by the fact that like I think JLo needs some time away from the public eye, but not just JLo, so did Ben Affleck, because we all know he's not like the greatest guy in the world, but the two of them just were on my last nerve this year, like no other. The next thing on this list is another couple that I just thought was a complete mess the way this went down. Brooke Schofield and Clinton Kane. That whole drama was fucking crazy. Just the whole mess of it. We talked about it on the podcast if you, like when it happened, but it was a mess. At the time, I was cheering on Brooke and I was like, oh my God, I love that she's like doing this. But again, could have been handled in a DM. The CrowdStrike shut down when nobody could fly, when Microsoft was down. Like, that was insane. Why are you a multi-million billion company and having shutdowns like that? I don't know. It just, something is not right there. It just didn't sit right with me. Carrying on with the theme of something that can be a yes, but also a mess, the Olympics, making Jordan Childs give her bronze medal back. Absolute mess. And also all the drama with Iman Khalif, like, and her gender expression and like saying she's actually a man because she is hot. Like, that was just so uncalled for. Also, I guess a mess and a yes, that's like a double one, is the opening ceremony. I think the opening ceremony with all the drag queens and the queer artists and everything was fabulous. I thought it was so great. And again, to see queer art celebrated like that is something I will always champion. But the response to it, as expected, people don't know how to handle anything outside of their comfort zone. So that was a fucking mess. Another mess on my list is Lana Del Rey marrying Jeremy Dufresne, whatever the fuck his last name was. Why are you marrying a Trump supporter, Lana Del Rey? What, like, really? Like, is it for the bit? Is it for like the next album title? Like, come on. Why? Mess. Another mess relationship, Brianna Chicken Fry, Zach Bryan, absolute disaster. And then just Brianna Chicken Fry kind of as a whole lately, the whole Grace O'Malley situation, like she built up this empire, like championing her about the Zach Bryan shit. And like, she obviously exposed him and I was on her side. I was like, yes, 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 yes. And now all this Grace O'Malley shit, she just kind of like knocked it all down and like fucked herself over. Absolute mess as a whole in that situation. And obviously we're championing Grace O'Malley over here at Too Pop to Handle. And then the last two things on my list. No, the first one is the fact that they tried to release Liam Payne's first posthumous single before his body was even cold. Like, it was less than a week after he died, and they're trying to release his single. Thank God they didn't and they pulled back on it, but that was insane. And then the final mess is kind of two in one, but it's just messy album rollouts. And I'm looking at you, Katy Perry, and I'm looking at you, Normani. When you look at my list of yeses, we had such successful and incredible album rollouts this year. Cowboy Carter, Brat, Eternal Sunshine, Tortured Poets Department, Short and Sweet. Like, we had so many knockout, not just albums, but the rollout that came with it before, during, and after the release of it. So to see teams and artists just fumbling album rollouts the way that Katy Perry and Normani did, it's just disappointing, especially when like these aren't new artists. These are artists. Normani, I have a little more grace for because she's had her mishaps here and there, but like the way that like Katy Perry's whole album rollout, the whole Dr. Luke drama. And again, I liked 143. It wasn't anything crazy, but I didn't think it was a bad album the way everybody else did. But the rollout, the excitement for it, just for it to like fall so flat and to work with Dr. Luke and the songs to not be to the level that they honestly should be if you're working with Dr. Luke, it was just a mess overall. And I think that's the perfect way to wrap up my 2024 year in review. Take a deep breath. My God, this is a long one. I apologize. But like I said at the top of the episode, 2024 was a crazy year for pop culture. I've said this multiple times to a lot of my friends. Like, I am so thankful that I chose 2023 to start my podcast because I started it in October 2023, had like 3 months of just like figuring it out. And then 2024 hit. And you guys saw from January until 3 days ago, we have just been in a constant like revolving door of pop culture moments that have just been unbelievable. And there's been some great ones, there's been some not so great ones. It has just been such a benchmark year for pop culture, for pop music, for television, for movies, for new artists to like have their moment, for artists to finally have their breakthrough. It has been such an insane year for pop culture. And I am so thankful that I have this podcast to look back on the entire year and just be able to be like, oh my God, remember when this happened? And we can all go back and listen to that episode and like have this archive of all of the crazy shit that went on in the pop culture space. That being said, this is my final episode of 2024. Obviously, there's only 2 days left. Thank you guys all so much for all of your support, all of your love. Every single person who listened to an episode this year, it has been such an incredible year for the podcast. And I am so excited to take Too Pop to Handle to the next level in 2025. I am going to make sure this podcast is even better than it was in this last year. And I cannot wait for you all to be on the journey with me. I say it every single week, but if you liked what you heard, make sure you send this episode to a friend so I can double in listeners. If you're watching us on YouTube or on Spotify, make sure you drop a comment. Again, let me know what you think about the visual setup. Like I said, I'm not married to it. It's just something I'm trying out, and maybe we keep it, maybe we don't. Who knows? If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you like the video, drop a comment, hit subscribe, all the things. If you're listening to us as a podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and a review. It really helps the show so much. I know it's like beating a dead horse hearing it, but leaving a review and leaving a rating for a podcast is truly the best way to support your favorite show. So please, it takes no time. It takes 3 seconds. Leave a rating, leave a review. If you would like to hear me yap some more, come over to my social channels. I am at 2pop2handle across all platforms. My personal is at Andrew Nucatola. And with that, I will see you guys in 2025. Bye.